The major thing that a lot of fans are really looking forward to in Star Wars Episode 9 is the fact that both J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio will be using this movie as a way of combining all 9 movies into one film. This is Mike Zero here. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. Now, I don't know if you guys heard the big story yesterday that apparently Matt Smith would be portraying a young Palpatine in Star Wars Episode 9, and to a lot of people, it just didn't make a whole lot of sense. Why would Matt Smith, of all people, be portraying a younger version of Emperor Palpatine in this movie, as opposed to, let's say, for example, a younger Snoke? I noticed a lot of you guys said that he looks more fitting for a younger Snoke than a younger Palpatine. However, if you look at the EU/Legends material of a young Palpatine from the Dark Empire comic line, you can really see the similarities of Matt Smith and his facial structure to that version of Emperor Palpatine. Now, we do know that Disney and Lucasfilm, they are constantly cherry-picking from the EU, so a lot of things really are going to happen in this movie. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning more and more about this film when it comes to some of the set leaks, the set designs, the concept art, and storyboard descriptions, and I really wanted to focus in on the character of Palpatine in Episode 9. We've been hearing about this a lot these past 3 months or so, give or take, and just yesterday it was a huge story about Matt Smith portraying a young Palpatine, and there's a lot of talk about Palpatine's clone being a part of Episode 9, and that's exactly why Matt Smith would be portraying that character. If not that, it could be in the form of a flashback. Now, a lot of people have been wondering, why would Palpatine be alive in Episode 9? Why would he be a clone? How would that even work? Now, if you're not familiar with Star Wars Legends, specifically the Dark Empire comic line, Palpatine uses a power called essence transfer. Essentially, he becomes just pure energy, and his consciousness is able to enter into a clone that he actually has growing on board. I believe it was on one of his Star Destroyers, if I'm not mistaken. If you guys read the comic or listen to the audiobook, it is brilliant. It is one of my favorite EU pieces. There's a moment in time in which Luke Skywalker actually goes up against Palpatine, and he exits out of his dead body and kills himself, and he's trying to enter one of his several clones, and Luke is slashing clone by clone, but one remains, and Palpatine actually enters it. So going into Episode 9, the whole entire concept of Emperor Palpatine's clone being in Episode 9, I think could very well be quite fitting. Now, we do know that Jakku, there's a lot of history to that planet. We do know that the Emperor had a lot of interest in that planet. And all the answers, currently, what we got in the books, I don't want to spoil anything, but we can see some connections to the sequel trilogy and the potential of that. However, not all the questions have been answered in the books of Emperor Palpatine and Jakku and the connection between the two. I believe that it would be pretty surprising if there's perhaps a cloning facility on Jakku, and that's exactly how Palpatine was able to essentially clone himself in Episode 9. Now, the concept of him being a clone in Episode 9, not quite sure if that would really work. I, however, like the idea of Matt Smith being a young Palpatine, and it's probably the more shocking way to do it in the final installment of this trilogy, as a real way of connecting all 9 movies into one big movie. This would probably be the best way to do so in both an old and unique and new way at once. So Matt Smith, we do know that he's playing a very vital and key role in this movie. It's a huge secret. It's supposed to be a big surprise in this film, and we're not quite sure officially exactly what he will be doing. Now, yesterday is when the news broke out that he would be playing a young Palpatine in this film. Now, the first thought that came to mind was it was going to be in the form of a flashback, but then there was talk about him being a clone of the Emperor in Episode 9. Now, that to me, I think it could very well add into the Star Wars lore of the whole concept of cloning, and this would also serve as a great way of giving Kylo Ren a redemption arc of this new evil rising, perhaps, where Kylo Ren and Rey have to team up together in order to take down this greater evil. That to me is probably the best way in order to restore Kylo Ren to the light side of the Force from the dark side, is because a greater evil arises and actually provokes, alright, both Kylo Ren and Rey to attack and team up. That to me is the best way possible. Now, how would you guys feel about Palpatine being a clone and returning as a younger version of himself in Episode 9? I know that there's a big debate about this today. A lot of people are very mixed about this, and me personally, I think I'm pretty much open to it as long as it's done right on the big screen. But anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.